Transformers Age of Extinction arrived 3 years after Dark of the Moon, with a completely refreshed cast outside of the central two Autobots. So I guess we'll find out if Marky Mark and an evil Fraser Crane can fill the dog turd smelling void left in our hearts, by Samuel Witwicky. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
Now Tara is a few years older than me, but don't worry, there's a Romeo and Juliet law that says it's okay to podcast together.
I don't like that joke at all.
Of course you don't like that joke. Of course you don't. Why would you like that joke? More on that later. If you've seen the movie we're about to talk about, you know exactly why I'm making that joke. We have been working through the Transformers franchise, building up to the new one coming out, and we're on the fourth entry. We're on Transformers Rise. No, that's the new one. We're on Transformers Age of Extinction. That's the problem, is I feel like Rise of the Beast and Age of Extinction feel that they're interchangeable as titles. Because you could call this Rise of the Beasts, and it'd be like, yeah, that works for dinosaurs. That works.
Sure.
Age of Extinction. Okay, so doesn't really fit an ape, but
I mean, there might be an extinction level event going on in that one.
There might be.
We don't know yet.
So, yeah, we're for Transformers. We'll start spoiler free as we always do. This came out in 2014, so 3 years after Dark of the Moon, and I remember just being surprised that Michael Bay was coming back because it felt like he was sick of doing them, and then he ended up doing two more, which is really weird. I guess he was getting paid an absolute shit ton. But he comes back for this fourth one, which obviously has Optimus and Bumblebee back, but it doesn't have a single human character back from the prior three films.
We got a full reset.
Which... Ish. I mean, it's still set in the same world. They reference the fact that there was a war in Chicago in the third movie, but...
Yeah.
You know, we'll talk about some of those, like, weird qualities to, like, transitioning into this new movie and things that feel like they should be popping up that aren't, and so on and so on. But this is the longest of them so far. In fact, I believe it's the longest in general. The fifth one's back to about the same length as the last two. So this is this movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I felt every minute of it.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. I mean, I actually think that there's a Tara out there that would enjoy these movies if they were like 90 minutes long, because you would get to cut out so much terrible stuff, and then you'd be left with robots, you know, and the robots are fine.
Yeah. Tara Reid, maybe she likes these.
Just because her name's Tara?
Well, you literally said there's a Tara out there.
Like a version of me out there, like in another multiverse, you know?
I know what you meant. I was just making a silly joke, okay?
Yeah, hilarious.
All right, fine, no sell it.
Tara's not, all right? I just watched this movie.
Tara's not in a transforming mood right now. Or a joking mood, rather. Or a transforming mood. It was just transforming. I don't know. All right, tough crowd tonight, everyone. So we're going to get into Age of Extinction. Which replaces Shia LaBeouf with Mark Wahlberg, which, on a personal note, is not... I don't like Mark Wahlberg. I've never liked Mark Wahlberg. I don't like him in basically anything. I think he's plays the same character and everything. He's just this bland asshole, and that's what he is in this. But, you know, we'll get to all of it. So, there's no point in even giving you a premise, because honestly... I don't even know if I can. Without just talking about how, actually going through it and talking about how all the details, I don't think I can give you a summary, because at this point this movie's so bloated with multiple villains and like the motivations and where like Optimus is at the start and everything, that I don't think I can. So I'm just going to skip straight to the question. I had seen this once before. This is the last one I saw, so the fifth one will be a fresh viewing for me, but
whoa,
this was a first time for Tara, so
yes, I am
suspecting I can roughly guess what you're going to say to me now, but we'll go through the process, due process, all that. How did you feel about Transformers Age of Extinction?
Well, I did not like it very much. I did.
What?
Shock. I actually thought it was not terrible for the beginning because we had all new characters and we had all new. I don't know, like it's still not as annoying as the second one. The Revenge of the Fallen, I think, is still like
It's still the worst one. Yeah,
the worst.
no, I agree.
It's like borderline unwatchable. This one at least is watchable, but boy, does it test that for me because the last third of this film is so challenging to pay attention. Like my phone is just like looking at me the whole time. Like, you want to check your email. You want to check your finances. You want to see if there's any YouTube comments or something. Like just anything but watching this movie.
Yeah, I honestly, Joe, I think the weird thing is it doesn't make me think any better of the last one necessarily, but I will say we talked in the last one about how the last like 40 minutes or so was like non-stop action, almost to a fault because it needed to maybe take breathers. But what I will say is that at least that had like big set pieces that I felt like I could remember like lots of big things from that last 40 minutes of that movie. There was moments that I, kind of liked, Optimus doing something cool, or a moment of like the last 45 minutes of this. It's just like there's so much going on. There's so many plot threads that have been set up. There's like little inconsistencies that I'll bring up, but it's like it feels like they didn't know what to do with this one, and as a result, it really felt like the last one was billed as like the final of the trilogy, and then the studio said we want more, and as a result, this one just feels like regurgitated ideas. It feels like we don't have the same big, because for whatever it's worth, that final 40 minutes of Transformers 3 did feel like the big conclusion to a trilogy. It was like, okay, this is as far as we can go with this action. This is the most outrageous we can do with it. This is the biggest and the boldest and the most whatever. This one, it's just kind of like, okay, it feels like we're taking a step back, and it's not even like it's better on a personal level because like it's just really messy. It's a really messy movie that I still think puts it underneath 1 and 3, even if there's not as many annoying characters or moments. Like, it's definitely dialed down a little bit in that sense. At least as far as like bad comedy goes, although there is still a lot of comedy that does not land. That is really, I mean, TJ Miller's in this movie, and like every line that comes out of his mouth is just like a thud of like trying to be funny.
I mean, I shouldn't say that I don't hate TJ Miller. I used to not hate TJ Miller. Like the actual guy seems like a pretty terrible person, but when he was on screen, I didn't used to hate him because I really loved Silicon Valley, which was a show he was in, and he was really funny in that. And so like I could see how he fulfills that like Pauly Shore niche for modern day, And yeah, like he's not really in the movie that much, so at least there's that. But like he's definitely not as bad as any of the comic relief from 2.
I mean, that's fair. And even the third one, while we were saying the third act was better, did have a lot of stupid comedy. Like everything with John Malkovich in the last one and all that stuff. Really, really bad. Yeah, but like, there's like a scene early on where like Mark Wahlberg throws him a football, and the joke is that he can't catch it, and then when he tries to throw it back, he like just aims it down at the chair and it bounces back and like hits him or whatever, and it's just kind of like, this is painfully unfunny. What are we doing? Right? Just get on with it. This movie's almost 3 hours long. Get on with it, for F's sake. Like, so yeah, you get that. I think honestly the biggest problem with the characters in this, which is Mark Wahlberg's this father, he's got a teenage daughter, and then she's got a boyfriend. That's kind of her main trio. Is I just think they're all kind of uninteresting. Like they're not like.
Yeah, they're not like. I don't know. I don't have the hate for Mark Wahlberg that you do. I think he's very clearly from the Boston part of Texas in this movie. And like buying him as an inventor of robots is pretty. That's a reach. or like a hacker. He's almost like Neil Breening it up in this, where he just is great at everything. He's your action guy. He's your inventor. He's your scientist. He's a hacker. Whatever you need, he could do it. He's the best at it.
But he's also the worst at it because he's making nothing from doing any of it. He's poor. He's losing his house. All that shit.
He does it for the art.
Yes, the art of invention and all that. Not to completely abandon. We're going to get a proper actor to be in the bad movie. We have Stanley Tucci in a role, which we'll get into when we're going through it.
More people that you like in a Transformers film for some reason.
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer's in here, and his character's pretty laughable at times. Obviously, Kelsey Grammer as a person, not so great, as he's got some pretty political views, to be honest. But obviously, I'm a Frasier fan. I like Frasier.
I enjoy Frasier from what I've seen.
People tend to like Frasier. So he's there. Other than that, there's definitely less people in it. It doesn't jump around quite as much early on in the movie as maybe some of the previous films did.
Mm-hmm.
That said, though, there are some other like minor characters that feel like they're going to be a big deal that are introduced like right at the start, and then basically just pop up again but have nothing to do. And I'm like, why did we bother introducing this blonde? Because like, it felt she was important. Like, she's in the opening scene, and then she just disappears and like just never becomes that I don't know. There's
She's
like
the other expert that we need to have later on or something.
Yeah. Titus Welliver, who I know from Lost, but people know from Supernatural, and
he's a familiar face.
Yeah, he's in here. He's a really like one thing I noticed with this, between him and Kelsey Grammer, like Michael Bay really tried to make them both look like really cool with a lot of Dutch angles, and Titus is like wearing like a long black coat a lot, even though he's like there's a lot of like look at these slick CIA Black Ops dudes kind of thing. There's a lot of that.
It looks like Mr. Garibaldi a little bit. If he was like maybe slimmer.
He's got a meaner face, but I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
If he showed up and said he was Garibaldi's older brother or something like that, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I could
see it.
Yeah. Okay.
There were some angles where I'm just like, oh, that looks like can't remember the name of the actor who played him, but.
No, it's yeah. So, do you know what's so funny is that this movie, like I said, it has less really stupid stuff. It doesn't have the Malkovich stuff from the last movie. It doesn't have the Ken Jeong stuff from the last movie. It doesn't have the college stuff from the second movie. And it almost is like that wouldn't like make it a good movie. Don't get me wrong. There's too much other stuff that's just kind of bad to save it, right? but it's almost like it saved all of the stupidity for one moment that everyone remembers, and it's the thing that I referenced at the start of this episode, which is the Romeo and Juliet law. Which it's one thing to bring up when it's contextual. It's another thing when the older boyfriend has it laminated in his wallet so he can whip it out when anyone questions why he's dating a 17-year-old.
Does he also have to have proof that they started dating when they were both underage?
Yeah, I don't know how you prove that. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand like there has to be a little bit of a grace period, because if two people, let's say the age of consent where you live is 18, right? And there's two 17-year-olds who are together and one turns 18. You can't immediately say, okay, this is like, immoral and awful. And it's like, no, there has to be a little bit of a grace period. But
no, the reason that we hate this so much, though, is not that, maybe that law exists or not. It's that it's put in this so that we can use gratuitous shots of Mark Wahlberg's underage daughter that people can jerk off to later.
Yes.
That's all it's there for. It's disgusting.
I mean, my problem with it's more the fact that the laminated card, like the idea of like having this on hand to show people, because people are going to bring this up, because people are going to ask about it.
Maybe it's wrong.
Yes, because maybe it's wrong. What's weird though is that there's a 3-year age gap here, and she's like, "No, we did date before he turned 18. Like, I was like 15 and he was 7 or 18," and I'm like, okay, like that's the only way this could have worked.
Yeah, I don't.
Which,
Or she was 14 and he was 17. Well, she said sophomore, right? And he was a senior.
14, 17 sounds really bad, to be honest. I feel like 14 feels too
Yeah,
young.
14. That's a child.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, that's. I think I have more problems with a 17-year-old dating a 14-year-old than I do like an 18-year-old dating a 17-year-old, like by
Well,
far.
I mean, I know it was a while for us now, but even in high school, like every grade felt very different. Like
It
an age
did,
gap,
yeah.
you know, like felt huge. Like the seniors, when you first get to high school, those are like adults, you know. When
Oh,
you
yeah.
look at them.
There's a TV and movie thing that I don't think translates to the real world, which is when I was in high school, I don't think there was almost any intermingling between the different
No.
grades. Like
No,
they're all
never.
very like
It was very
entrenched.
rare if somebody was like dating someone who was a year younger. You know, that was
Yeah.
that maybe happened, but like it was pretty rare.
But it would
Like
only be
usually
1
you
year.
stuck with your age group.
Yeah, but if it did happen, it would be 1 year difference. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
multiple years.
No, that's gross.
It wouldn't. And keep in mind that in the UK high school, you know, like we don't have the 3 schools. We only have 2. So we have primary 1 through 7, then we have high school, which is years 1 through 6, rather than the 3 4s, right? So when you go to high school in the UK, you know, you're like 12, and like, you know, the 6 years are 17, and some of them will hit 18 before they leave. So yeah, it very much is like you get to high school and you're 12 and you look at the as you would call them, seniors walking around, and they do look like adults comparatively. Obviously, now when I look at someone who's like 17, 18, I'm like, you look like a baby.
He's a baby.
Yeah, compared to how I feel now. But you know, at the time they look so old. They look, oh shit, there's like adults walking around in school uniforms. What's going on here? This is weird.
Why not?
So-
Why not just make the daughter 18? It just seems like such a simple fix.
Because they wanted to have all these jokes. They wanted, if you can even call them that.
It's either the joke or like we want to exploit this girl as barely legal or like, you know, underage,
Yeah.
like a minor. Like, oh, you like looking at minors' butts? Here you go.
And what even makes it worse is that there's a line from T.J. Miller early on where he says, "Oh, she looks hot,"
Looks hot.
and Mark Wahlberg's like, "What'd you say?" And he's like, you know, in like a teenage kind of way, and he's like, "Oh, that makes it better." I'm like, nothing about that sentence was good.
Ugh.
No, obviously, the one like asterisk here as a viewer, obviously, is that the actress is not actually quite that young. The actress will be actually of age, which is, you know, whatever. But you know, this is something that, and this is not this like, obviously lots of movies and shows are guilty of saying, hey, here's some hot teenagers and like, you know, whatever. But it's one thing to have that like meta level where, okay, we're watching something where they're technically supposed to be teenagers, but we all understand that they're all like 20, right? And they're all sort of on their own in their own world, versus no, we're actually bringing up in plot that they've got an older boyfriend, and we're going to constantly point out that this shouldn't be okay, but we're going to sort of keep making the excuse why it is okay. So yeah, it's the thing that everyone remembers from this. It's you know, it's just, I don't know. It feels so Michael Bay.
Do you think Michael Bay is just like trolling us now? Where he's like, I'm just going to put on display all the people who watch my movies. Like, I'm just going to point out the flaws here and exaggerate them by making this girl, this character underage and a sex symbol for you.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I mean, actually, to my point, right, in the first movie, and wasn't good, don't get me wrong, like, we complained about the over-sexualization of Megan Fox's character, but that wasn't, like, it didn't have that layer of creepy to it, it was just kind of tacky, you know? But the problem wasn't that she was technically someone who was just leaving high school, it was like, because, yeah, again, we know all the actors are whatever age, and it's fine, who cares? But it was more just that it's getting in the way of the story, and it's just, you know, this tacky thing that he's doing. Whereas here, this girl's basically the same age she was, but it feels like, because they're pointing this out and they're making this, you know, Romeo and Juliet law clause, like, well known and whatnot, that, yeah, I don't know, it feels worse. Feels worse. I feel dirty. I need to go like shower and wash the stink off me.
Well, I mean, she's also got Michael Bay's preference of being just way too oily.
Well, that's not just a woman though. To be fair, he likes to make everyone.
The whole movie is just super Miami sunscreen level of like. That's what everyone looks like. They look like they're just come off the beach from Miami, covered in sunscreen, so they're very shiny.
It's always summer in Michael Bay movies. It's always summer. So, yeah, I mean, is there anything else I even want to say before we just start working through the movie? I don't think there's much. I
like the voices of the Transformers in this one. We get John DiMaggio, who plays Bender, so that was fun to hear. This one's got John Goodman in it,
who's instantly recognizable as John Goodman, as is Ken Watanabe.
They have the fat one.
Yeah.
So they got John Goodman, likable big guy.
And they have the Samurai Autobot, which actually, one of my complaints about this is that, like, all the Autobots have just swapped into different Autobots from the last movie with no explanation. Like, why is there now a Samurai Autobot? Why is there now a John Goodman, like, cigar-chomping Autobot?
I guess they've been on Earth hiding.
But where's Sideswipe then? Where's, the other couple of ones whose names I'll never remember?
Maybe he's still with Sam Witwicky.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate the name of our protagonist in this too.
Oh,
Cade Yeager.
Cade Yeager.
So we gotta make an extra cowboy because he's so Bostonian.
Honestly, the names are all pretty rough. We got Cade Yeager, his daughter Tessa Yeager. The boyfriend, played by Jack Rayner, is called Shane Dyson. Stanley Tucci's character is Joshua Joyce. These are all pretty rough names. I'm gonna lie.
Yeah, they needed a second pass.
The whole thing feels like a first draft. It just feels like someone stuffed as much as they could into a script, and Paramount went, "Yep, ship it, right? Start shooting."
Yeah, you know how James Cameron's like, I shot 9 hours of footage for Avatar 2, but I was able to get it down to 3 hours or something. Like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to shoot a bunch of stuff and then see what needs trimming and make a cohesive movie.
Oh dear. Just to clarify that statement, his original cut was 9 hours. I'm sure what they shot was probably thousands of hours.
Probably, yeah, probably.
If someone
Which is more impressive, right?
Yeah. If someone shot even just a 90-minute movie but only had 9 hours of footage, that would actually be really economical. Like, damn, you did that quick. That's 2 days of shooting.
Yeah, it's a lot of I don't know. It's a lot less takes. That's the Neil Breen method. A better filmmaker than Michael Bay.
I love how you put yourself in a corner. You didn't know how to finish the sentence. So you thought, I'm just going to bring up Neil Breen and hope no one notices.
I'm just going to Breen anything out of it.
It was just a slip of the tongue that I was making fun of. There's nothing to be upset about.
I'm not upset.
Or ashamed by. Oh, you should
Still
be.
Not that.
Well, no, but Michael Bay should be ashamed. Which is, I was trying to make a segue.
Shame on you, Michael Bay. Unless you're trolling us, then I'm proud of you.
I'm not.
He's playing the long game. I'm sure of it.
I'm not proud of shit.
They probably were like, "We need you to make a fifth one." He said, "Really? After that thing I made, you still want me to make another one?" All the Transformers also turn into product placement in this one. It's probably the worst one so far for product placement.
There's some dodgy product placement in this one, yeah. I mean, all these have been very product placement heavy, but this one especially.
This one's pretty egregious. I think maybe he's trolling us.
There's a point where a truck of Bud Light gets knocked over, and Mark Wahlberg in the scene actually grabs one and starts drinking it. It's pretty egregious.
Out of spite.
But it's still egregious. I don't care. It's still egregious. So
there's an Oreo Transformer also. From an Oreo vending machine. Where are these vending machines? Sounds amazing.
All right. So that's just the spoilers then. Let's start talking about the movie because there's a lot to get into here. So Yeah, it's just it's how much they keep like retconning into like the history of this universe. So because remember the second movie started with "We were here before," and it shows you like the fallen and like all those like early primes like in Africa and all that stuff. This time we're going further back. We were here before. Whoever created us actually killed the dinosaurs, brother. I realized I was in a bit of a Hulk Hogan voice there as I was trying to Optimus Prime.
Oh yeah, Sam Witwicky.
That's Macho Man, but good try.
I was going for Macho Man. It's the only one I know.
Hulk Hogan's easy. You just have to put on the voice and end every sentence with the word brother.
What does Stone Cold do?
Well, he chugs beer, but he says things like "Give me a hell yeah," and you'll say that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. I'm coming after you, son of a bitch! Oh hell yeah! Like, he's very Texan. I can't do Texan, but he's got a very Texas kind of thing going. That's how little you want to talk about Transformers. Like, Peter, do more impressions of wrestlers that I don't know.
Now do Jesse Ventura. Do The Rock.
I wish I could do Jesse Ventura. Because he was a really good commentator back in the day. So he has a lot of memorable moments. I can't do his voice though. It's too unique.
Oh yeah. Dig it.
Yeah, dig it. Yeah, there you go. Snap into his Slim Jim. Yeah. Boom. Saw is ready. That's from his Spider-Man scene.
Yeah, I know.
Just in case.
Boom-saw.
I got you
The
for
best scene in that movie.
3 minutes of playtime.
Best scene in that movie.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that, to be honest. I don't think that movie's that great. Like, I think a lot of people have nostalgia for it, but I'll pop for Macho Man. So yes. So after a little bit of teasing of like, it actually gave me 65 flashbacks because we were seeing like these ships like nuke Earth and the wall of fire was consuming the dinosaurs, and I'm like, this just looks like 65.
Yeah.
Which is still relatively fresh in my mind. I mean, don't ask me to explain it because I can't, because it's a very forgettable movie, but
We did see it, and it wasn't that long ago.
no.
Adam Driver was pretty in it.
If he's your sort of thing, I suppose.
Who isn't at this point?
I don't know.
Any pretty male celebrity will do for me.
All right. I'm tempted to start naming names, but it's a rabbit hole we should not go down. Now, so we're introduced to blonde lady who finds in the ice a giant robot dinosaur, which doesn't even make sense to me given where the robot dinosaur characters come from later on, but whatever. They find a giant robot dinosaur in snow or ice.
Antarctica?
I think so. There was a lot of ice. I don't know. But then we were introduced to Mark Wahlberg. We're introduced to he's this guy who collects junk and tries to fix it because he wants to invent things. He's got a lot of crappy inventions around the house.
Why would you do standard robotics for inventions when Transformers exist?
Because he's an idiot. You know
Seems
I'm
like
right.
a strange path to go down.
You know I'm right. We're introduced to his daughter, who has a really sort of generic like character introduction where she's with her friends and she's like, "Oh, we're almost done with school. Then we can get wasted. Woo!" And I'm like, "This is like a generic
Go
like
to college."
like you're right out of like a slasher movie, just like saying generic teenage lines before you get stabbed."
They're driving off to the Leatherface movie.
Yeah, you never see your friends again, so they may all be dead. We don't know that. We don't know for a fact on that.
They're in Texas. They're a group of hotties.
That's true. We're in Texas. Yeah, yeah. The Chainsaw Massacre house might be like 2 miles down the road for all we know.
Boy, that would have been a great crossover. Leatherface versus the Decepticon.
Wait, why is he fighting the villains? I feel like Leatherface is a bad guy.
I don't know.
So TJ Miller works for Mark Wahlberg. They're looking for junk in this old theater. There's a couple of bad jokes, but the big thing here is that they find a truck. It's a flat-faced truck, which is what Optimus Prime is in the cartoon, right? That's what he's actually supposed to look like. He's all dirty, though. You can barely see the colors on him because he's just like covered in shit.
He's in hiding.
Well, he's not just in hiding though. He's actually hurt, like, you know, because he fixes him later. But obviously we immediately get, okay, this is Optimus, but he doesn't know it's a Transformer yet, so he just wants it for scrap. He wants to fix it up, or maybe just sell the parts, whatever. So that sets up where we find Optimus, and throughout this, you know, it cuts away at some point to Kelsey Grammer in the most over-directed scene maybe in the whole movie, where he's like got a projector and he's like talking to a room full of people, and he's explaining how the Transformers, they brought war to our world and we must hunt them all down, like Decepticons and Autobots, blah 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 blah. But there's a lot of like low angle shots looking up at him with the projector light going past them. It's just a lot of really like. Was
there an American flag at one point?
Oh, maybe. It's all very ominous and stuff. And there's a second scene with him where the press secretary? No.
Is it the Reno 911 guy?
Yeah, him. Whatever his role was. And he's there, he asks questions on behalf of the president. And apparently Kelsey Grammer is so powerful with his Black Ops team that he can just say no. The president doesn't need to know what we're doing. Because
that's what Black Ops is. Black Ops means the president doesn't have to know. And it keeps us safe.
I don't think that's exactly true. That's just like an Independence Day when they're like, oh, by the way, Area 51's real, but plausible deniability. You didn't have to know, Mr. President. I don't know. But the second, third, and fourth in command all know. So did he not go through the ranks before he ran for president? Like surely some people who run for president have had those positions prior. Not all of them, obviously, but some of them would have. No.
President Bill Pullman had a lot going on. He didn't need to have Area 51 on his mind all the time.
I suppose. So, I mean, a lot of this early stuff is just kind of like them in the farm, him being like, don't date, you're not allowed to date until after graduation because we had you and I missed my graduation because I was at the hospital when you were born. And what are you fidgeting with?
Oh, my phone was on vibrate. I didn't mean to have it on vibrate.
Oh. So it's just, you know, he's the protective dad. It's 101. She's got a secret boyfriend she's talking to in Skype, blah 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 blah, all normal stuff. But we see that the Black Ops team and the actual guy in the field who's running them is the Titus Weveler character, whose name's James Savoy. I don't remember hearing that once in the entire movie. So
I don't think I did either. That's okay. He had a distinct enough look.
Yeah. They're hunting down what you think is a Decepticon at first, but it turns out to be Ratchet. Although I didn't realize it was Ratchet until someone said his name, because the vehicle looked different and it was a different voice actor doing the voice.
Mm-hmm.
But the twist here is that they're working with a Transformer. Turns out someone called Lockdown, who his head turns into a big cannon and shoots Ratchet.
Very Megatron.
Well, from one of the Megatron toys, yeah, but not from the movies. He's not done that in the movies.
That's true.
So we have them working with this third party, this who, it doesn't seem to actually be a Decepticon. He's kind of like just something else. He's just another Transformer.
He's like the cleanup guy. He's like the guy you call when the Transformers have made a mess of something. He complains, this character, he complains that he's been going around following while Autobots and Decepticons fight each other out, and then he has to pick up the pieces.
What's funny is I don't even think this was on an episode, but we were talking recently about the creation of the Transformers, and this movie actually starts to get into that, where Lockdown says he's come from the creators and says, you weren't born Optimus, you were built, and the creators want you back. So what's so funny about this movie is that this is the first one, which is weird given that it's 4 movies in, and it's the first time that it's actually setting things up for another movie. Because the previous movies didn't do that. The previous movies just ended wrapped everything up, and then it was up to the next movie to somehow like set up more plot
Continue
again. Yeah.
a story, or not continue a story, but repeat the story in a new and annoying way.
Whereas this one actually does plant, pardon the pun, because there's actually a seed later on, but it plants some seeds for what the fifth movie presumably will be doing. And that's,
I didn't know that that's what the fifth one is.
well, I don't really know much about the fifth one, but Optimus does have a sword, and it's called The Last Knight, and he does get the sword in this movie, so it does feel like there at least was some thought about where it was going in the next one. A little bit, at least.
Okay. When was that one? Was that like 2018 or something?
I would say 2017 is when that came out.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. And then 2019 was Bumblebee. Yeah. Or no, maybe 2018. Yeah. So we have this Transformer called Lockdown, who's working with the Black Ops team to hunt down Autobots and Decepticons, but he mainly wants Optimus Prime. His mission's to retrieve Optimus Prime. And I'm going to skip ahead here because I think it's easier to explain this if we can just do it as a whole rather than like just doing it bit by bit as we get to the scenes. So he's making a deal with Kelsey Grammer and the Black Ops team, and he's giving them the seed, which is basically a seed that can create Transformium. No thoughts on the word Transformium?
I mean, it's stupid, but it's also named by the humans, so
True.
it's fine.
I mean, that's fair. I still roll my eyes when Stanley Tucci said it, but and Stanley Tucci's character, so his whole thing is he is like this hotshot billionaire inventor who is using Transformium to build their own devices that can transform, and they kind of go, but they don't transform like the Autobots and Decepticons. They transform, they go into like cubes and sort of reform, and honestly, it takes all the fun out of the transformations away because it's just like magic.
Yeah, totally. I don't approve of this at all.
Yeah.
I think it looks bad. I think the animation for it doesn't look good, and yeah, it takes away the fun of like watching them transform, which we do get some good transform scenes in this film, but like it's still like. There's one moment where he's holding it and it kind of looks like Mr. DNA or something. Like it's just swirling about in like it looks like a 2D animation on a 3D, and then turns into Beats by Dre.
Some product placement for you there, yes. And then turns into a gun, and no one.
I hated it. I hated it.
And then
so
no
much.
one stops and thinks, if we have matter that we can literally just swap into different objects at choice, that feels very dangerous given the things you could have it. Like, I feel like you'd have to have some safety features like built into it to stop weapons being made, just a thought, but...
And does it shoot bullets or does it shoot Transformium?
Why can't a bullet be made of Transformium?
It seems like that would be a waste of Transformium.
True. But where does all the ammo come from that the Transformers are shooting all the time?
Yeah. Don't know.
So it's a good question. But anyway, so Stanley Tucci's this billionaire inventor, and he's building their own Transformers, right, that they can control. That's like part of the gimmick of this. And he's working with he's working with Kelsey Grammer. They're working in cahoots. Kelsey Grammer, went to him, and it's like, oh, we can do all this. And it turns out, as the movie goes on, you kind of realize that Kelsey Grammer's basically doing all this stuff like in secret, and he's basically hoping that he'll have all this power and they'll be finished before he gets caught, because the government think he's just going after Decepticons, but he's actually killing Autobots as well. And there's a lot of we see billboards and stuff talking about, fear aliens because look what happened to Chicago. If you see an alien, call them in. Do you know what? If this was any other franchise, I would say there was an attempt at political commentary here about, if you see an immigrant, make sure you rat on them. But this is...
or even this is very much like post 9/11 also, because even the posters are kind of remember Chicago and stuff like that, and you can easily replace that with just the Twin Towers. So it could be a commentary on Patriot Act or on something else,
but it's not
using fear mongering to do something worse, like the Iraq War or something like that, So but yeah, it's not.
I will really say this. But I know for a fact, I just know that none of this is intended commentary.
It could have been accidental.
It could have been accidental. I don't think for a second that Michael Bay has actually got anything to say on these subjects.
Unless he's trolling us. Maybe it's all part of the long con. We'll see. You haven't seen the fifth film.
That's true. I don't know. Wild.
Maybe it's just Michael Bay, like on the screen, his face telling us for 3 hours about how we're all failures and horrible people for buying tickets for his films.
So yeah,
it's just like Shoshana, but Michael Bay.
So Stanley Tucci's company's making their own Transformers, and he's trying to make one that's like Optimus Prime because they want them to look like the good guys, right? But they point out that but it keeps ended up looking like a weird, like evil looking version of Megatron, and it turns out they've got Megatron's head. And immediately, and I remember thinking this because I'd forgotten all this, but as soon as this happened, I was like, oh yeah, I remember thinking the first time I saw this, immediately like, so yeah, Megatron's actual soul or brain is like going to be leaking into this like new thing. It's called Galvatron, but it's basically just Megatron reincarnated, effectively.
Yeah.
So that's the big problem when we get to the third act, is that we have Galvatron and his team of like created Transformers from Stanley Tucci's like side of things. And then we also have this, what did I say it was called? Lockdown, coming back for Optimus. And, like, these two plots don't merge together that well at all in the third act. Mm-hmm. It feels like we just bounce between them to a point where, at one point I said, wait, did Galvatron die already? And I missed it. And if it wasn't for the fact that there's one small bit right at the very end where you see him looking over the city going, I'll be back, Optimus. I really would have thought he just died somewhere because it felt like he just disappeared somewhere with no explanation in the middle.
Are we supposed to assume that this army of Galvatron like creatures, that the red ones that all look kind of like Bumblebee, are all soulless?
I think so.
So they're just kind of like drones?
For Galvatron, yeah.
Yeah, because they're made by humans, so they wouldn't be the same. So is the idea that the Transformers are made from Transformium, but they still need the Allspark to like come to life?
Yeah, to give them
to have like a soul.
Yeah, to have their soul, effectively. Yeah, that seems to be what the movies have been telling us up till this point, at least.
Yeah, I was trying to like, because whenever they were talking about this stuff in the film, I was like, oh yeah, I thought it was the Allspark. Like, why is this? It just seemed to be like forgetting the first film.
The Allspark gives them life, but the Transformium material is created by the seed.
Okay.
that seems to be the thing.
The seed is created by the Transformers creators.
Yes, whatever they may be. Maybe we'll find out in the next movie.
Humans from the future.
Godformers. That's what I'm going to call them.
Godformers. Jesus in disguise.
Oh dear. And actually that thing I mentioned where Galvatron just disappears during the third act because it's time for the lockdown stuff, even though he's not had a proper ending. There's a lot of moments in this movie where, like, all of a sudden Optimus is on his own, even though the Autobots were there like a second ago, and I'm like, why are they not around anymore for this scene? Because Optimus has to be on his own for this fight. And similar in the third act, there's a point where, like, all the stuff's going down in China, and like Bumblebee and the John Goodman Autobot are like fighting off all the hordes, and I'm like, where are the rest of them? And then it after like 5 minutes, it cuts to Optimus and the other Autobots. For some reason, even though they were on the same ship as the other characters before, they went into the forest, and I'm like, why are they in the forest? Like, there's so many times where like just it felt like characters should be together, and all of a sudden some weren't there, and
yeah. And these were scenes where humans were really in danger, like the ones that Optimus is supposed to care about. There's so many moments in this movie during that last fight, too, where I was just like, well, they're dead. Oh, they're dead. They're dead. Like, if that happened, they would just splatter everywhere.
But, you know, we should talk about Optimus, because, like, I'll give at least a little bit of credit that there was an attempt here to give Optimus kind of like a potentially interesting arc where when he finds out that his own like Autobots are being hunted by a bad team of humans, he's basically, okay, F this planet, F humans, we're not going to save them anymore. And I'm like, okay, that's on paper that's interesting, right? I don't think it's actually done that well in the movie.
If this was a 90-minute movie, it might be decent, or it might be like, you know, a 6.
Or at least see if it just focused on that. See if it was like, take out lockdown, take out all that shit. If it's just a movie about this team of evil humans working with maybe one Decepticon to kill Autobots for their material, which is what they're doing, and Optimus is struggling with wanting to even bother saving Earth. Although, you feel like you have to, like, he is conveniently forgetting all the humans that he's called friends over the last 3 movies to really have
Why
this
didn't
attitude.
he call Sam Witwicky to like help him talk to the president about all this? You know,
or the soldier dudes who were like, they were my friends too. You know,
well, it was Sam Witwicky who was his voice, though.
Which, can I just point out, right? So there's less military shit in this. In fact, there's almost none of it. If you don't count the Black Ops team. And
that stuff I didn't mind though.
But the reason why I'm bringing this up, and it's kind of amusing to me, is I've got 2 points on this. One, it's kind of weird that eventually with everything happening, that, like, I get why, like, Sam should never have even shown up in the first sequel, never mind this one. But the soldier dudes, it feels a bit weird that them and John Turturro at some point don't, like, come, like, jetting in because they see that stuff's going down. But the bigger thing that made me laugh is that those first 3 movies are so, like, you know, American military, you know, rah, they're going to come and help save the day because the American military's great. The entire final set piece of this film, the big third act action scene where the city's being destroyed, takes place in China, and the Chinese military just never shows up.
Nope.
What? Come on.
They don't need to, because everybody in China is a kung fu master. Which I appreciate.
Yes. There's a Chinese lady who works with Stanley Tucci who turns out to be kind of a badass. But she's another like just sort of like tacked on character for the most part. Because Optimus' whole thing though, just to get back to that for a second, is that he's basically done with everything, and then like one little speech from Mark Wahlberg seems to just kind of turn him around, and that's it. He's like, "All right, I'm going to wake up the Dinobots," which. Also,
he actually says he's going to kill somebody too in it.
He does, and he does at the end. He shoots Kelsey Grammer in the face.
Yeah, he's like, "You're going to die," like even though he swore never to kill a human.
Well, to be fair, though, he does say that. It's not like he's ignoring that. He says, "I swore I'd never kill a human, but if I find out who did this to Ratchet, they will die." Like,
okay, so it was for Ratchet, because I was thinking this was right after Mark Wahlberg saves his daughter. And then he's like, whoever is doing this will die. I'm like, why do you care about his daughter that much? Like,
nah, it was for Ratchet because they did react to the fact that like their fellow, and it is kind of like interesting that all of the Autobots from the first movie, barring Bumblebee and Optimus, are all dead now. You know, Jazz died in the first movie, Ironhide died in the last movie, and then Ratchet, who was barely recognizable. Even though Ratchet looked the same for 3 movies, for some reason in this one, for his death, he just looks different. It sounds different. I don't know. Awkward. But, okay, so you've got all that shit going on, right? And then Stanley Tucci's character has a face turn in the last chunk of the movie because, you know, it turns out, and this is how they try and connect all these plots together, is that Galvatron, right, Megatron in this new body, which is a truck, right? He's basically planted, again, quote unquote, the seed for the bad guys to want the seed, because he's going to use it to basically just destroy a city and grow an army of Transformers to like take over Earth, right? This is Megatron's big revenge. And when they try and tell Stanley Tucci this, and Mark Wahlberg's all, "You're an inventor, so you're good at heart. I know you are. So like, don't do this. That you're just handing Galvatron what he wants. You know you're not in control of him." And he's already pointed out that because Galvatron talks, and I remember thinking in that scene, like, should these ones that they've made just talk? Do they have personalities? But Stanley Tucci does say, why did he talk? He's not supposed to talk. So it's actually a plot point that he's talking. But
yeah, but I don't understand why he released him when they weren't ready with him yet.
It's because Kelsey Grammer forced them to, because the Autobots were around.
But it still seems like the wrong thing to do if they're still like testing.
No, it is. It absolutely is. So Stanley Tucci has his doubts and then has to properly face turn, and he ends up running around Hong Kong with the main characters, like carrying this seed and trying to keep it from the bad guys. So that's how we get our humans running around as all the action's going on. And none of the action's as good as any of the action in the last movie, you know, in that third act.
There was one set piece that I kind of liked, that when they're like walking like on a wire to try to get like this bridge made of wires and lines to try to get to from the spaceship to like a skyscraper. And I thought this would be like an excellent final action piece for our
that's
heroes.
the thing.
but it's not.
The one thing I was going to jump in and sort of say there was that this isn't in the third act. This is actually the end of the second act. This is because so Lockdown kidnaps Optimus, right? But when he's kidnapping Optimus after Optimus has fought Galvatron, in the net the daughter's caught up in it, right? So there's a whole thing where Wahlberg, the boyfriend, and the Autobots like go up to this big ship that's about to leave, and they rescue Optimus, they rescue the girl. And it's when they're escaping the ship, where they say it's the anchor lines that they've fired out that's like connected to a building. They're climbing across. But that's actually the end of Act 2. Like we're not even in the third act at that point.
But I was thinking when I was watching it, like this is a really like good set piece. So like trying to get off by like hanging on to like a literal thread, to get to a skyscraper, like doing this wire walk. Like imagine the wind up there, and trying to talk his daughter, to, like give her confidence to do it, and stuff like that would be. And then Decepticon dogs are coming at them, and he has to be a hero. Like there's a lot of good things here that could work for an action set piece, especially if it's like kind of an IMAX and you get like a good shot of how far up they are and stuff like that. It could be real tense, but it's just played for laughs that don't work. And like it's just the same standard set piece where they could have been 20 feet off the ground or like a foot off the ground. Like they weren't acting like you would up there, and there was nothing to indicate other than like we know that where they are, that the dangers of this height.
It should have felt like that scene in Ghost Protocol, Mission Impossible, where
nothing,
he's on.
Nothing felt dangerous about it.
Yeah, you get the sense of height or the vertigo or anything like that. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to bring up is while the fighting's happening in the city, and it turns out Optimus and the samurai robot, why there's a samurai robot with a Japanese accent, like who knows, but like,
it's Ken Watanabe, we love you, but like,
oh yeah, he's great, but
I'm glad you got a good paycheck. But again, just like people you love in a Transformers movie for some reason.
Yeah, I got really confused though where these Transformer dinosaurs came from though, because obviously these are the ones that are meant to have been here since, before. The idea being that some dinosaurs get turned into Transformers, or the Transformers mimic the dinosaurs back in prehistoric times. Whatever the case was.
That's what I was thinking.
But
yeah,
I was confused where they came from in the scene though, because when Optimus went over and pulled out the sword in the ship, it seemed like they were just in the ship. And they came out the ship, and I'm like, wait, they were just in here the whole time? So they were inside, so Lockdown had them in this, because this is a ship they've stolen from Lockdown. This is part of his ship. So they just had these inside the ship, and then Optimus wakes them up and sort of like tames the beast a bit and says, no, you're going to work with us. We're going to go fight the bad guys.
No, they get them from like the side of a mountain.
Is it the side of a mountain? Because the sword's in the ship though, right? Because he's at the ship.
Because the other two Autobots are trying to leave, and they start walking through the forest.
Oh yeah, but the ship's like parked there though.
Oh, maybe.
This is what I'm saying.
That.
I was legitimately confused. Like, were they buried somewhere here in China, and that's why they've came here specifically? This is why they've landed in the forest. But the shot of them waking up looked like they were just in the ship, because it was like they were in like sort of shackles inside the ship.
Well, honestly, that's better. Because I really rolled my eyes when they just appeared over the hill like Gandalf on the third day.
I mean, I think either way though,
deep,
I think either way they're not built up enough. And honestly, like I thought they were going to come from, because we find that one in the ace at the start of the movie, and
that's
honestly,
where I thought it was going to come. Yeah, that was going to come back to life.
But it doesn't. It's these other ones that they have. I mean, you presume that if maybe they've collected them because these have all been found in the ice and that's why they're on the ship. But the movie never makes that clear. The movie never goes into that. So we just have these dinosaur Transformers all of a sudden, and
the thing you've been waiting for, because it's all over the trailers and posters.
And it's like so far into the movie, and it's not built up. It feels so tacked on as well. They feel like an afterthought in a movie where
the payoff is just not worth it.
They have been the marketing linchpin of this entire movie. That's
called Age of Extinction, and you have a poster with Optimus Prime riding a metal dinosaur.
Yeah, but
that breathes fire.
They are so, but they are an afterthought. That is all I could think of when they pop up. They feel just tacked on into this third act when the two things that have been set up, and it's still too much. Don't get me wrong. Like, all the Galvatron stuff with Stanley Tucci, and then all the stuff with Lockdown and the creators of the Transformers, those should be two different movies. Those should be two separate plots where they can focus on each one properly. But instead, they're mingled here. And because of that, there's points where, like, Kelsey Grammer's running around, and like he's heavily featured for like a bit of the third act, and then other stuff happens, and he's like gone for so long, and then all of a sudden after like another 15 minutes, we just cut to him running somewhere, and it's like, oh, I guess he's still around, and then he's important again because then he's threatening Mark Wahlberg and trying to shoot him, and that's when Optimus Prime shoots him in the face.
I just can't believe how bored I am watching so much action.
It's so like.
I love action movies. I just get so stinking bored when I watch these Transformers films. Like, the last acts are always just so heavy on just, eye stimulation that it just makes me want to look away and look at something else, take a nap.
It's so... I think part of it is how Michael Bay's shooting the action, right? And it was at its worst in Transformers 2, but it's still quite choppy. It's still lots of quick cuts and all that stuff. But I think the other problem, of course, is just like your investment in the characters and what their goal is. If you cared about the characters and what they were trying to do, you'd be way more into it because all the action would have stakes. Instead, it just kind of feels like, especially now because this is the fourth movie, like I think this, whatever the fourth movie was going to be, would have benefited from more of a gap. And obviously we were watching it, 2 weeks after we did the last one, but I think at the time I remember feeling that one, like I feel like you did everything you could do with this series up until this point, and we're just kind of repeating beats. We're doing similar things again. We get characters running through, and Mark Wahlberg like finds an alien gun at one point, which conveniently is small enough for him to use.
Yeah,
even
it's
though...
all human-sized weapons on this place.
Well, no, there is like huge ones. There's like a huge axe and a hammer and stuff, but obviously they don't go for that. And I was like, oh, it's convenient. There's one that's just small enough that a human can.
How can he even pull the trigger on a gun designed for a transformer?
Yeah, it's one of the things with the characters in these movies is that they've been annoying and they've been to an extent useless. Sam's like biggest sin was always that he just was unlikable and actually didn't really contribute anything, even though the movie pretended that he did. I mean, here the three characters do help out the Autobots a couple times, which is fine, but I wouldn't say they ever feel like they're important because of who they are. It's just happenstance. They're around to fire a gun or drive a truck or whatever it may be.
It's almost like Optimus really doesn't owe them anything except that they brought him back to life. But then that's it. He doesn't have any kind of connection to these characters either. Other than thanks for the assist. Good luck. Let me know what happens. It should be his interaction with this family.
Yeah, but at the end he's like, Autobots, I am leaving, but protect this family as they have protected you. They're
mostly just trying to save the daughter all the time. And her boyfriend turns out to be a real asshole. There's one line there he says I'm not going to save your daughter, you're going to save my girlfriend, to her father. That's such a dick thing to say to a dad. Clearly one takes priority over the other. The dad is family, you're the boyfriend. It's not the same tier.
What if they were married though? A husband would supersede father.
Maybe. I don't know. If he's this much of a dick, then
I mean, I think it does because you've chosen a husband, so therefore there's a bit more agency in that versus your father. But I mean, I think the point the movie's trying to get at though is that immediately, because he's no boyfriends. Oh, you've got a boyfriend. Who's this asshole? It kind of becomes this dick measuring contest between them the entire time.
I mean, he did want to take his daughter to prom.
Oh, he did actually. You're right. He's like, I'll take you to prom. And of course, no one wants that ever. Yeah.
Do they allow that in Texas? Because they don't really allow adults at proms.
I don't know. I've definitely seen other like movies and TV shows where the high schoolers are allowed to bring dates that aren't students at that school, which at my prom wasn't a thing. Like only the people who could go were the students who went to the school.
I think maybe if they're like immediately like they went to that school the previous year or something, maybe, but like, yeah, I don't think so. I think it's something you have to, or if they're from another school that's the same age. But I don't think, I don't know. I never went to prom.
Yeah. I don't know. Just thought. Sometimes I'm not sure if this is a movie thing. And the funny thing is the US is so goddamn big that it's entirely
You
possible.
can have a chaperone, but like not. I don't think you could bring in like they're not like the parents aren't dancing out there with the kids.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and like I say, the US is so big though that it's entirely possible that there's some states that are more like this versus others. You know, like
Texas would be one of them.
Oh yes, bring your father to prom and have a shooting competition. Probably that's Texas.
The proms are just bull riding competitions.
Yes, everyone's got a cowboy hat on. They do like they get the bottles on like a thing and like shoot the bottles for points. They win a game, and whoever wins gets to be prom queen. That's how Texas proms work. I've decided.
I have been to Texas once or twice, I should say. And it was all right. Actually, there was really good vegan food. I was surprised. I thought I would struggle, but some really great vegan places in where did I go? Dallas.
Yeah. I imagine the big cities are probably friendly with that sort of thing.
Yeah, but they have the worst roads. Like, no one ever fixes a pothole on like the freeway. Come on, dude.
It's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre towns that you'd probably have trouble being a vegan.
I went to the although that movie might actually turn people vegan. I did go to can't remember the name of the city, but they have a video game museum there. I did go do that. It was fun.
I can't help but notice that you're avoiding Transformers 4 by talking about this.
Were we not done?
I don't think we're quite done. TJ Miller got incinerated about 40 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, he maybe had like 20 lines total. That's pretty good.
He had a bit more than that, but yeah, he's around for the first act, which, you know, in a movie that's this long, the first act's quick.
The incineration scene actually was pretty violent. I thought that was interesting for a PG-13.
Yeah. You know, he sort of just disappears out of the flames, but then when they disappear, he does like this charred, like melted body.
There's like yeah, like I don't know. The special effect is done well, where it's like superimposed with him and the charred. It almost looked like you see a skeleton for a second, and then that gets charred.
Yeah. Oh, which reminds me, actually, they play up a lot of. It's not too much, admittedly, but there is a few times where they'll play up, like the daughter and the boyfriend, like having kind of, not. I guess innuendo is the best word for it, but like when they're driving away, like so when everything goes down, when the government bad guys show up to try and find Optimus, and they threaten to shoot the daughter, like it's like, they're making it clear they're villains, and Optimus eventually jumps out and says, "Screw this, I'm helping this family," and we have this big chase scene. They end up driving. This is when the boyfriend comes up in his car and he says, "Come in," and there's a lot of like, you know, realizations this is our boyfriend in the car as they're driving at high speeds, and we hear that he's a driver, that he actually does racing as his profession, and
sponsored by Red Bull.
He's sponsored by Red Bull, and he's driving all over the place. And they go into this like construction site, or this like abandoned construction site, and you get the impression they've been here before, because she says to him, "Do the thing, right? Do the thing, Shane." And he's like, "Yeah, all right." And he's like, "What thing?" And Shane turns and goes, "Okay, baby, grab the stick." And he turns to Wahlberg and says, "She's the best on the stick," or something like that. He's got a line like that, and it's very like, like obviously he's being literal in the scene, but obviously the whole point of it is that the audience is like, he's talking about his dick.
Actually, when the car first showed up, because he drives up in the car and he's just kind of waiting. And we know Optimus is there, and like
I thought it was coming. An Autobot as well. Yeah,
I thought it was an Autobot, yeah. And then like we see the car like take off at one point, get airborne, and like the tire punches a guy.
Oh yeah,
the bad guys.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh yeah, it's an Autobot. Like he's doing all these tricks and stuff. Like, oh, it's just a human driving that car. Now I don't buy this at all.
Yeah, when he drives into the scene, he like comes over a hill, and he actually hits a guy in the face with the wheel. We get like a slow motion shot of the wheel just hitting someone in the face.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh yeah, Autobot.
yeah. No, I agree, because when he first drives up and you see the car sitting there, it looks like there's no driver, which is why I thought Autobot.
Yeah.
But that turns out it's Shane.
You can't trust any cars in this.
But yeah,
franchise.
there's a jump on the construction site, which is like 3 floors up, and there's like a ramp at the bottom to land on. So clearly this is something that he set up, or racers or stunt drivers use here.
Incredibly dangerous.
Yes. But he does this, and obviously the car chasing them just falls to their death because they're not stunt drivers. So not that it matters after this, because then explosions, boom boom, cargo bye bye.
Boom. Yeah.
In the middle of the movie is like, so they discover Stanley Tucci's company's doing all this stuff with Transformium and all that, and the blonde lady works for him. She has nothing to do. She's just next to Stanley Tucci for a lot of the movie, and that's all she is.
He flirts with her at one point.
Yeah, but then he decides he's into the Asian lady instead, and says he loves her.
She does kung fu.
Yeah. It's never as bad as anything Turturro said in the last couple of movies, but
she's much younger than him though. Like at least the blonde lady looked a little bit more age appropriate. He's like, oh, never mind. I got this young hottie over here.
Yeah, she's younger, but she's not in high school young. So,
no.
This is the standard we're working with here. But nothing he said here though was ever as bad as anything Turturro said, because he does, like, it did come off as like a Michael Bay line where he sort of steps in after she kicks someone's ass. He's like, I think I love you, and he goes in for a kiss, and she just kind of turns him around instantly. She doesn't get awkward about it. She's just like, no, shut up, you stupid man, go in there. So it plays, quick and innocent enough, but it still felt like this is a man in a Michael Bay movie who's attracted to someone, and this is how he's going to show it, by just immediately jumping to nonsense like that. So
come on, Stanley Tucci, you were in Big Night.
Yeah. The middle of the movie though is like them deciding to infiltrate Stanley Tucci's lab. So we get a whole scene where like he sends his daughter and her boyfriend to steal supplies from a store, and then they get like fake IDs, and they're going to like sneak into the building, and it's like a whole like spy movie, like for like 5 minutes all of a sudden.
Honestly, the last third of this film is just like every single summer blockbuster genre in one. You get like your sci-fi action with aliens, you get like disaster films, your action films, your spy movies. Like it's just like anything that's popular. Dinosaur movies, we're just gonna make it all one film. And it's so annoying.
It's so annoying.
It's like pick a lane. And Autobots roll out on that lane.
Yeah, Optimus has a slight upgrade, because when he finally turns back into like a nose truck, he bases it on a truck that he drives by, and it's got more curves than the old model. Like he looks a little bit curvier than the last 3 movies.
Yeah, his fire decal looks better too.
So that's the thing. I don't have much to say. Honestly, it's shocking how little we care about talking about the dinosaurs. But yeah, Optimus rides like a T-Rex robot, and
that breathes fire.
The samurai one, I think, is riding a Triceratops looking robot.
How did they feel about that? Because I mean, didn't we say before, or in the last film, like, are the ships they riding also Transformers? Like, are those ships okay? Are they just inside of another Transformer?
They've never.
Like, we've seen these Dinobots like walk out, and they're like these Sentinel looking Transformers, and then they turn into
they have a humanoid shape as well. Yeah. I don't think the ships that they're flying are. I think those are just ships.
No, but we had that discussion. Like, would they be okay with that? And here they're just like, Optimus is like, okay, you're in beast mode, or dinosaur mode, so I'm gonna ride you.
I mean, Optimus and Bumblebee seem fine with humans riding them, so I guess it's.
Yeah, I guess it's just part of their culture.
Yeah, it's just similar. we're vehicles and mounts. We're there to be ridden. So. Yeah, honestly, it's actually shocking to me how little like the dinosaur robots matter. Obviously, it's supposed to be this like these new sets of allies and this upgrade for like them charging in and fighting the bad guys, but it's over so quick, and it feels like it's never the real threat. Like Lockdown feels like the real threat when he shows back up, because he's actually shot Optimus and almost killed him. he feels like he's actually tough to kill. But eventually, you know, the humans help like unstab Optimus, who's been stabbed by his sword, and then he kills Lockdown, and that's basically it. The movie ends with Optimus saying that he's going to go look for the creators. He's like, because he's got this target on him, the creators want him, and they're going to keep coming. It's unsafe for everyone on Earth for him to stay here. So he jetpack. He doesn't have a jetpack though. He's just got rocket boots now. He's been
Iron Man's
upgraded.
out.
So he just flies off, and he's like, "Stay away from Earth, creators. I am coming." And that's
I hope that means there are no humans in the next movie.
That would be great, but Mark Wahlberg's definitely back. He was in the trailer. I think it's Mark Wahlberg and like a new teenage girl, I want to say.
Oh, great.
I don't know if maybe the daughter and the boyfriend are back as well, but the trailer, if I recall, it was like a runaway teenage girl or something is like the main character.
Yeah. It's the Dora the Explorer girl.
Oh,
she was in the live action Dora movie, I think.
I'll take your word for it. You'll know better than I.
I think I know. I think I remember now. I'm thinking about the trailer.
Yeah.
But yes, I think you're right. There are humans, unfortunately. Because it also looks like it's doing some sort of play on King Arthur in the trailer, if I remember correctly. Which would, I don't know. I guess I was assuming before you mentioned the girl that this was going to be a time travel one.
Yep. Well, I don't think it's time travel, no.
No.
I think it's just
probably not. I thought I remember there was like some sort of King Arthur thing.
There is, but I think it's just sort of using the themes of King Arthur, or like.
Okay.
I was shocked.
We're gonna get some dragons.
I was shocked watching this again though that there's a scene where Optimus pulls a sword out of what's effectively a stone, because I'm like, I thought that'd be the next one, because the next one's the King Arthur movie. Why is he doing this here?
I wanted the next one to be his Army of Darkness.
Oh, that'd be wild. So Anthony Hopkins. Oh, Josh Duhamel's back in the next one, so a character from the first trilogy's returning.
Needs that money.
Fascinating. Stanley Tucci's back, but he's playing Merlin? What?
Okay, so maybe there is some time travel.
Well, no, it could just be, maybe they'll do a thing where they'll start with a flashback to King Arthur times.
Okay,
and maybe they're going to say
get a Transformer dragon.
Maybe Stanley Tucci's like the ancestor of himself, like he's this Stanley Tucci's the descendant of Merlin.
And he's got the Allspark. That's where his magic comes from.
Yeah. Oh God. I don't know what to expect.
I hope they all transform into like trebuchets and like wagons.
This is the only one I've not seen the last night, so I am like. Are they going to be responsible for the Black Death? Like, is now retconned to being a Decepticon thing? Transformers has actually killed the dinosaurs
and caused the bubonic plague. But there was no bubonic plague. It was Transformers the whole time.
Honestly, the biggest thing I would say about this movie, obviously it's long, obviously it's tedious, and it's overstuffed and all the rest of it, but my biggest thing at this point is that it has nothing new to really offer after the last three movies. So at this point, I'm just so tired. Like, we talked about last time, like, the action was better, and it was probably better overall, but like, because it was the third outing, a lot of the stuff that was bugging us were starting to feel even worse. Yeah. This one is like, even though some of the bad stuff is a little toned down, like, I felt much worse with this one because I was just like so bored and so like I watched it in 3 sittings and it was tough paying attention. Like you say,
I probably would rewatch the last one over this one if I were forced to watch them again.
Yes.
I just found out that Riff Tracks has done, obviously some tracks for the Transformers film, and I thought, this will make it watching it better, but they only did it for the first 3. So I was like, dang it, missed my opportunity to watch it with the Riff Tracks.
You can't watch Riff Tracks with your viewing for the review. No.
You wouldn't have to know.
No, I that's just
And maybe it
no.
would have helped me pay more attention to the last one.
I don't approve of that one bit. Um,
You watch movies your way, I'll watch them my way.
no, you're not feeling the misery properly if you're watching with like a funny
That's the
commentary
point.
track. But no,
That's
you
the
have
point
to.
of tracks. They make movies better.
No, you have to come in here and if it's a painful experience, you have to come in here and be able to talk about the pain. That's how this works.
You just want someone to wallow with you in this misery, this pool of
Yes.
misery.
I don't deny it.
We'll drown together.
Oh. Yeah, so Transformers 4, it sucks. I mean, I was surprised at that. And it kind of ends with maybe cliffhanger is not the right word, but it ends with this obvious lead into the next movie, and it's saying something that I didn't even consider, like seeing the one that came after this. I was like, no, I'm just done. I'm just done. I can't do it anymore.
Did you see this one in the theaters?
I did, but this was when I had an early movie show with Matt, and I think I only saw it so we could talk about it on that show. So I think the third one would have been the last one I had seen if it wasn't for that reason.
Well, at least a beautiful friendship came out of it.
But the reason why I remember that is because I remember Matt complaining that I made him go see it. Which, on that subject, Rise of the Beast is soon, Tara. You looking forward to it?
I did see a trailer when I went and saw Guardians, and it looks better. It does look better. I'm not ready to call it good, but it definitely looks like it's gonna be better than any of the stuff that we've watched so far.
There was a thing that went viral the other day where a movie theater somehow played both the Transformers Rise of the Beast trailer at the same time in sync with the Little Mermaid trailer, and it was this. It looked kind of funny because even the titles at the end kind of synced up, so it looked like this insane movie about a mermaid that also had Transformers in it.
Yeah, you have movies about apes. I'm going to be more interested.
Yes, there's a Transformer ape in this one. Yeah, so
Optimus Primal.
Yep, that's the one. But we have the fifth movie to go first. That's not next though. Next time we're doing the last Patreon vote winner, which is the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So that's what's coming next.
And then after that, we're doing not the next Transformers, right? We're doing Tron Legacy.
I mean, let me double check the schedule here.
Because the whole point was to get Tron Legacy in for my birthday.
I recall, yes. Let me.
I have also purchased my ticket for Transformers.
That's good.
I noticed that no one else had pre-ordered a ticket when I picked my seat. It was completely open.
There you go. That's good. So no. It's Transformers 5. Tron Legacy's after Transformers 5.
Oh. Okay. I feel like we're past my birthday then.
It's a couple of days after your birthday.
Okay. Fine. I accept.
Well, actually, maybe a week. I guess the week start on the 29th, so I think by the time we do it, it'll be a week. But that's okay. You still got to pick a movie for your birthday. We have to get Transformers in though, because Rise of the Beast is the week after that.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
It is better to space them out.
Yeah. So we're alternating between Transformers and other things. Yeah. So Invasion of the Body Snatchers for the 50s next. So something different, something complete opposite of Transformers.
I don't know. No, I have seen this movie. It's just been a long time.
Yeah, I've seen the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
So no, that's next time on the show. But we have to rate this one. So Age of Extinction, Tara. Is it the Rage of Extinction?
It sucks. I'm gonna give it a 3. I think that's as high as I'm willing to go for it because it sucks. And maybe it would have been a 4 if it were like 2 hours. Maybe even a 5 if it were less than 2 hours. But like it's so long and drawn out and awful. So it's a 3.
What did I give the last ones? I think. Did I give the first one like a. did I go as high as a 6 for the first one? I can't remember. Or maybe not. Maybe
I
it
think
was
we
like
both gave it 5.
5 sounds right. I
gave the second one a 1.
I think I gave that a 2 or
I
something.
think the
close to
last
that.
one we both gave around a 3.
No, I think it was a bit higher than that. I
Maybe
want to say
3 or 4.
I think it was a 4. I think this. Yeah, I'll agree with the 3. Maybe 3.5. If I'm being, if I'm being generous, but 3.
You don't have to be. It's Michael Bay.
Yeah, the point is that it's lower than Dark of the Moon comfortably, but it's not as bad as Revenge of the Fallen. That's the important thing to note. So there you go. That is Age of Extinction. I have to think about the title of the movie was there. So let us know what you think of the movie if you've seen it, unfortunately, in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. But of course, you can support all the content over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Where you get bonus episodes every month. We recently did Species 3. And coming up soon, we're going to do the first ever Gamera movie. But there's almost 50 full episodes on Patreon now. Exclusive variety of B movies, direct-to-video sequels, and all sorts of shenanigans. So check it out. Plus, Meltdown is our show at the $5 tier where we just talk about what movies we've been watching. If you want a casual sort of movie chat between us. Plus, there's bonuses for the other movie shows on Male Fuzz movies, such as The Collector's Cut and Screams After Midnight. So go and support the show and get some extra content. Anything you'd like to add, Tara?
No.
You looked like you were thinking about something when I gave some examples of what was coming up.
Nope.
Like you had something like...
I hear my dog dying in the other room.
Okay. I thought you were like, wait, is that what we're doing next? I thought we were doing... I don't know. Insert...
We already had that discussion.
Insert Tara movie. Anyway, that is the show. That has been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep watching science fiction and computer and salsa.